Does removing the hero of this series for the last 40 years, an uneven frame rate, too much dialogue, and too much hand-holding ruin the magic that is The Legend of Zelda? The simple answer is no. Core elements are still here. Exploration, quests, dungeons, combat, puzzles, satisfying jingles, and anything else that creates the essence of a Zelda adventure. The big difference is how the new mechanics alter this experience, creating something unique and fresh. While it feels too soon to rank it among the greatest entries in the long-running series, Echoes of Wisdom stands with some of the best in the franchise thanks to some unique additions, as it somehow gives the player the same amount of freedom in a top-down perspective that Breath of the Wild gave the player in a 3D perspective. While all of the pre-release attention for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom was on the ability to truly play as Princess Zelda for the first time ever in a mainline Zelda adventure, this should truly be the focal point of Echoes of Wisdom, but it isn't. It's the ecosystem that gives the player the ultimate freedom to approach their adventure how they want to, despite the constraints of a top-down perspective, with a similar mentality to Breath of the Wild, where if you can think it, odds are you can do it. It's the freedom to approach many of the game's dungeons and puzzles in your own way to make this experience unforgettable. There is no set path and there is no correct solution for anything. It might start out extremely simple with just boxes and tables, but by the end of the game you will be figuring out ways to do things that almost shouldn't be allowed. Allowing the player to approach the entire game with this kind of agency creates a breeding ground for creativity. The ecosystem is perfectly balanced, as it always borders on game breaking, but it never goes over the edge. For example, you can create a bet echo at any time, allowing you to recover hearts, virtually rendering health items and smoothies useless, but there are still times where creating a bed is just inopportune. Finding the echoes is also very addicting. One of the main draws, similar to Pokemon, is that collector mentality, where if you see an enemy or an item that you haven't copied yet, you feel the urge to clone it. The joy of seeing something in the distance in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom is replaced in Echoes of Wisdom with seeing a new enemy or item that you can copy and then discovering how it can be implemented. Despite the change in hero, Echoes of Wisdom still follows a similar structure to most entries in the series. Evil rifts are spreading across Hyrule, causing chaos, and the only way to save the world is to go into these altered dimensional rifts and defeat the evil awaiting. Inside the rifts are worlds that are shattered apart that are not only beautiful to look at, but also present a unique set of challenges to traverse them. Rifts stand in for dungeons, and while the layout remains similar, they do feel fresh enough. The other large dose of originality is by using your echo powers to solve puzzles and defeat enemies in these rift dungeons. Instead of finding a hookshot, you find a spider that can shoot a web that can get you places, or instead of a bow, you can send a murder of crows towards your enemy. Echoes of Wisdom provides the right amount of familiarity with the right amount of new. Echoes of Wisdom carried over many elements and principles from Breath of the Wild, and what it didn't bring was the solitude. Easily the biggest problem is that there's just too much dialogue, with most of it being unnecessary filler that doesn't add anything to the world or to character building. The engine used for Echoes of Wisdom is the same as the Switch remake of Link's Awakening, and unfortunately, there are still times when the frame rate can take a dip. And while it's too bad that this issue still remains, the good news is that it never occurs during moments that can hinder or ruin the gameplay experience. Echoes of Wisdom isn't too difficult. Treasure chests are often underwhelming, and sorting through the echoes can also be a bit cumbersome at times. Nintendo doesn't like to break tradition, but with the change in hero, it could also now be a time to add difficulty levels to the series. Most games nowadays offer at least a story mode to experience the journey, and an adventure mode for those looking for a slightly more difficult experience. While there are a few issues that hold Echoes of Wisdom back from being an instant classic, there is enough essential franchise elements here fused together with revolutionary changes that make it one of the most unique experiences in the series that is extremely fun and rewarding. Without a doubt, Echoes of Wisdom has changed the trajectory of the series. Removing the hero of the franchise, who has been a stalwart for nearly the past 40 years, would be a death sentence for most series, but somehow, Echoes of Wisdom is a breath of fresh air. Before leaving, consider subscribing if you learned anything new from the video or enjoyed the vibes. If you're unfamiliar, we're trying to cultivate a community full of positivity that's free from toxicity and negativity. That's everything for today, but until next time, be good to your fellow gamer, but be better to your fellow human.